I'm Dean, I'm the dad.
I'm Laura, I'm the mom.
And I'm Arthur, I'm the son.
And together we are...
Family for What?
Very nice, that's nice. Now that we're on video, people can see instead of whatever they picture when they hear my voice, I actually look like the Shaggy Beast Man of Highland Manor Trailer Park.
Yes, absolutely you do, but that's okay because you're my Shaggy Beast Man of Highland Manor Trailer Park.
Let's see, so let's get the housekeeping out of the way. As always, Patreon, if you want to help us out, monthly donations are a thing, and we appreciate those we get. It's only 2 levels, $1, $3. We now have video to offer to our Patreon listeners, so if you want to see my ugly mug and my son and my wife's beautiful faces,
So,
that's a thing to look into. If you cannot afford to do a monthly donation, which is fine, we've been nothing if not struggling ourselves through most of our life.
Yes, absolutely.
So you can always do a simple donation of $1 or $2 through Buy Me a Coffee. If you enjoy the show, please share it on social media.
Share it with friends.
With everyone.
If you don't enjoy the show, sorry I had to jump in on this one.
It's okay. Please
Keep it to yourself. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all.
Rockstar Arthur, thank you so much.
So on May 25th, 1961, then President John F. Kennedy addressed Congress saying, among other things, watch out for Ernest Hemingway. He is a danger to future Wait, no.
That's not what he said, yes.
What he said is,
I was confused for a second.
Yeah, it has been too long since we mentioned Hemingway. Your dad had to throw him back into the mix. Go ahead.
So, anyway. What he said is, I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade, which was the 1960s, is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space, and none will be so difficult or expensive to accomplish. Man, good talk. Cookie?
Keep going. I'm going to spend all your money, but man, you're going to feel proud of me. I love the Kennedys. Uh-huh. It was a beautiful time. I'm not complaining. That was not a dick.
By saying such pretty words, however, he committed his government and the country to create a vehicle that would, in fact, take men to the moon and then return to Earth. With the flight of the Apollo 11 in 1969, they achieved this goal. Today we give a brief overview of the events that led up to that flight, as well as the event itself in this heavy history episode of the Family Plot Podcast, and it sends us someplace we have never, ever been before. Outer space and the moon.
3, 2, 1...
Woo!
Never had a subject take us here, so I'm kind of excited. We have now gone beyond where we have gone before in our podcasting journeys.
We've talked a little bit about space, but we haven't necessarily gone to it.
But now we have.
Now we're
Space.
going to it.
Final frontier.
So,
You know who else is in space?
Josh Gates. He's been in space.
Man crush.
Oh, goodness gracious. I was actually going to say Burton. Mika Burton.
Not Mika Burton.
Yeah, Mika Burton.
Mika Burton's done everything, so that doesn't
Mika Burton has
Mika Burton pinned Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship. And then looked at Cody Rhodes and said, "That's how you do it."
Mika Burton is she's a member of Space Fleet. She's pretty awesome.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry. It's one of my intentional hookups for my children. I want to hook up Arthur with Mika Burton, and I want to hook up Lexi with Ronan Willingham.
Well,
Heather's working on one for me.
Well, here you go. In 1957, the Soviet Union shocked the world by launching Sputnik 1, the very first artificial satellite into orbit.
Good job, Soviet Union.
Heck yeah.
Well, see, but that's just the thing. Up until that point, Soviet Union was looked at much like China has been historically. Giant wheat basket. Mostly agricultural. But that's changing in China, and this was at the point when the Soviet Union was changing. They had gotten themselves some expensive scientists from the former Nazis, so they wanted to use some of them.
Absolutely, why wouldn't you?
Well, that's what we used. So. And we won't go into Operation Paperclip or any of that in this episode, because that does build up into this and could be its own episode.
A whole series, but we're not
going all into that, guys.
Yeah, we're not that podcast.
If you want to hear that, I'm sure it's somewhere.
We have friends over at some of our friends who do deep dives.
Oh, Astonishing Legends, Scott and Forrest.
Yeah, Scott and Forrest. Yep.
Yeah,
That's what I was trying to think of. Astonishing Legends. They do really deep dives into stuff like that.
Yep. So, with the launching of Sputnik 1 and beating the U.S., suddenly the Soviet Union was seen by the world as a technical superpower. And immediately, Eisenhower created the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which today most people simply call NASA, in order to compete with America's geopolitical rival in a race to get to space. However, in 1961, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin was the first man in space. It was around this time that Kennedy made his speech to Congress, essentially igniting a race to the moon. In the address to a crowd of roughly 40,000 at Rice University, his speech included the following. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because the goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. Kennedy, upon meeting Khrushchev, suggested the mission to the moon be a joint undertaking, but Khrushchev did not respond to the offer. Kennedy again suggested a joint mission to the moon between the U.S. and the Soviet Union when he addressed the United Nations. Again, Khrushchev did not respond. After Kennedy's assassination, the idea of a joint mission to the moon was abandoned, and the U.S. moved forward with its own plans. And John F. Kennedy is someone we will have to do an episode on at some point. That man, he could talk.
Yeah.
Yabba.
That's interesting crossover of his assassination that I've never taken into play, and I'm sure that there are people who have, that I have never thought of it in terms of trying to cross borders before, but that's an interesting take on it. Should we take a minute for a word from our sponsors?
That sounds like a good idea to me because, boy, we're going to need some heavy sponsoring to get through this episode.
Three, two, one.
Hey, everybody, welcome back.
Absolutely, honey, I feel sponsored.
So do I. Thank you so much.
I feel sponsored, too.
So I guess I'll take over at this point. The space race began with Project Mercury, which is not just about a cute little girl in a sailor outfit with bouncy blue hair and bubbles, right?
Yeah, no.
Not Sailor Mercury, Project Mercury. Got it. Project Mercury actually became Project Gemini, which completely wrecks my joke I just made, but that's okay. Which in turn then became the Apollo project. The successes and failures of the earlier projects helped to make the best equipment possible for the Apollo series, which is what I'm always telling Lexi, right? We have to make those mistakes and learn from them to move forward.
Right.
Also, personnel like Katherine Johnson, a black mathematician whom John Glenn asked to personally recheck the calculations for his orbital flight, had done all of the math for the trip, including math figuring out how the gravitation of celestial bodies would affect the rocket. In January of 1967, a fire on the Apollo 1 claimed the lives of astronauts Virgil Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger B. Chaffee. However, the project kept apace. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union was having problems developing their moon capsule, which was known as the N-1, and so began developing an unmanned probe that they could send. Both the Soviet unmanned probe and the American manned probe were ready in 1969.
And I should absolutely add here that the unmanned probe did make it to the moon, but not much further. Once it got into the moon's atmosphere, they sent it to collect, I believe, a soil sample, and somewhere between getting to the moon and getting to the surface, it failed and crashed. So that was the end of the Soviet moon program.
Well, isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't have my soundboard, but sounds to me like it may be time for Arthur's Corner.
Hear ye, hear ye! Allow me to present Arthur's Corner!
Hey, Arthur, how's it going in your corner this week?
Hey, it's going good. How are you folks today?
I'm a folk, so I'm good.
You're a folk, so you're good. Okay, what about you?
I'm a little undercaffeinated, but I'm good on my water.
Water bottle. All right, so
I guess you could say I'm folking amazing.
That was a good one, man.
That was a pretty good one.
I like it. I like your bad puns. He does that for me. I'm sorry to everyone who hates puns. He hates them too. He really just does it to make me smile.
So,
what do you have there, child of mine?
have you guys ever heard of an Aardwolf?
No, I have never heard of what is an Aardwolf? This is not a thing.
I have, but only in Dungeons and Dragons, so.
This is what an Aardwolf is.
It looks like a mad coyote.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when I saw it at first, I did think hyena. And
Yeah.
it is a hyena relative.
That makes sense.
So,
Yeah, definitely. It looks like when a dog raises its hackles, like Like, it looks like it's a mad puppy, yep.
Yep.
Well, the week after next, I believe, we talk about the Beast of Gebaret. And if that's the case, that looks like a likely match for the thing that was stalking the people of France around that.
That's cool.
That is cool. You might hold on to that name and keep it close.
The Aardwolves. They're going out. So their conservation status, he's concerned the population is very stable, so it's fine. They are carnivorous. That's what you would expect from a hyena relative.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
The scientific name for it is Protellus cristata?
Protellus cristata? That's a cool name.
Yeah.
I thought I had one of those for breakfast the other day.
A Protellus cristata?
Maybe it was a frittata.
Yeah, definitely.
Frittata. I don't think you ate an aardwolf, Dad.
I also don't think you ate a frittata because those are mostly egg and you can't stand eggs.
Yeah, you didn't have either of those.
And I might, like, if they chained me to a wall or something, like in a Conan movie.
Yep.
And then, the hero came striding in. What are you doing here? Wolf, for dinner.
Right? Sure, absolutely.
You have to know the original Conan movie
I have.
dialogue.
Yeah.
Because he finds his little thief friend chained to a rock, and he says dinner for wolves, and Conan frees him. And they become... Subutai is the name of that character. Subutai. It's a virgin.
Very nice.
Yeah, I don't think you'd eat one of these, because they're about...
I don't know, he might try.
They're about 22 to 31 inches long and 16 to 20 inches tall, so...
Wow.
Okay. I still want a Tibetan Mastiff.
No, sir.
No Tibetan Mastiff.
No, sir.
Mom says no Tibetan Mastiff.
It would be such a cute little...
No, sir. It would not be nothing little, anything about it.
A Tibetan Mastiffs, if you guys don't know, Tibetan Mastiffs are big. They're big puppies.
I'd ride it down the street and give the neighbor kids a show.
Yeah.
You're gonna make them scream their heads off and you're gonna get the cops called on us. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tell them to try to come up and try to get to my dog.
And that's how you get arrested. Sir. Anyhow.
I'd paint it red and name it Clifford.
Wow.
I believe that he would paint it red.
Yeah, I believe that too. I believe that too.
Don't eat all the fries I made them. Because she specifically asked for hot fries.
I ate a bunch. I'm good.
Some.
Yeah. I'm full. Did you want a couple more?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Y'all hear that?
I said don't eat all of them. I didn't say don't eat any. Because, your sibs aren't always the nicest to your mom.
I'm nice.
You're usually pretty good.
Yeah.
Usually. Every once in a while you get your nose out of joint.
Usually I'm okay.
Usually you're pretty close. Ooh. I know we're in Arthur's Corner, but I had an idea I wanted to run by you as the original creator and run by you as the wife.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about our early episodes, and some of them are quite bad audio-wise.
Yes.
And some of them, like, that version of Chris hasn't existed for a while.
Yeah.
He's Arthur.
Yeah,
and so,
exactly.
I was trying to think, so should we revisit some of these former episodes and do them as reduxes, especially ones that you weren't there in the beginning to join us?
Yeah, absolutely. And we could
re-verify.
I mean, the whole world has changed since 2020 when we started this podcast,
So, yeah, anyway, I was just wondering, would the people who listen prefer it if we went back and just redid it and replaced the audio with new audio? So like episode 1 would become a brand new episode 1, and the original episode 1 would vanish from the internet mostly.
Mostly.
Nothing ever really vanishes from the internet, but you get the idea.
That's called digital footprint.
Or we can start mixing them into our other planned episodes and releasing them as, for example, the Catacombs of Paris Redux, which was an early episode, or Rasputin Redux, which was our very first episode. Especially in light of some of the things we've learned since then. So yeah, since you are in charge of our social media, and, well, you, besides me, are the longest running member of this podcast, I just thought I'd throw both of those ideas out to you, get your thoughts, but I think in the end, we can make a poll or something in the group and let them decide.
All right, absolutely.
Are you actually, like, right now doing that on your phone?
No, not at all. I'm just agreeing with you and looking at something else.
Okay. I wasn't...
That would be pretty cool. I think going back to that and looking back...
You and I had kind of already gone over this. That's why I'm just...
Yeah, but I had yet to get it out. And I think it's something we absolutely need to do. I just don't know how. Every time I think, yeah, that's the way we'll go about it, I rethink of myself.
I get that. We've done a lot of that. I've done a lot of that with content. But we're gonna talk about that later. So he is cool. So are you currently looking at animals and thinking about animal type careers, or is this just something that came across your vision today and you thought, well, this would be a good topic?
I've been, doing, research on animals, and, I'm gonna have to talk about it another day, but I have some, what you call Etherean, so I have, a spiritual connection with certain animals.
Okay.
And this is one of the many. I'm gonna have to explain it a different day, because it's a whole thing on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to hearing about it. Definitely, just even the terminology Etherean, I want to discuss that and learn about that. So we will absolutely. Right. That should be. Can we talk about that next week on our corner?
We'll see what I can do.
Yeah, well,
write all the stuff down.
Well, yeah. You don't. So, Arthur, if you're telling us about how you feel about how you view the world, you don't have to pull that off of the internet. You can write down your words and talk to us, just a lot of times when I'm doing an interview or I'm doing something at work, I will write down key points that I want to get to, because I think you take after me. We get so excited about what we're talking about that we just go off this way.
Yeah, it's a thing.
And it's like we never actually get out the idea that was in our brain because we get so excited that we just kind of go around it. And it's like, we know what we're talking about. That's why I keep telling Lexi. I told Lexi the other day, I am sorry. And she cried. I told her, I said, I am sorry. I almost got upset at you because I didn't understand what you were trying to tell me. And I am sorry that happened. And I want you to know that mommies make mistakes too. And she just welled up and just got huge, big old tears. So when I make mistakes, Arthur, I'm sorry, mommies make mistakes too. Okay.
Heck yeah, we all make mistakes. We're human.
Absolutely.
So, Aardwolf, am I going to see a mask soon, or?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Another thing I wanted to bring up, we are actually setting up the Etsy shop, so...
Yes, we are! We started that yesterday.
We started setting it up yesterday, and I'm gonna start off with just selling, some of my art, so if you're interested in that, we will be able to put that out soon, and, I'm excited to share it with everyone.
I think that what we can go ahead and do, since we're sponsoring the Etsy shop, is we can put show merchandise up in the Etsy shop as well, a link to get to that.
Okay.
So that as we come out with things, I think we were going to do some stickers.
Yeah,
we talked about that, and we are in the process of working with a friend on business cards as well. So,
but then, right when I was thinking about it,
I bet if
I
you do.
caught the post from
Yep.
owner of Sticker Mule, and he's an idiot. So no, I gotta find another company.
Oh, Danny can do them. I'm pretty sure we have a friend at the show that can help us out with that. In fact, I bet if you did some artwork, he might even be able to help us figure out how we would turn that into stickers.
Nifty.
Yippee! Alrighty. Now let's keep going on this. We're getting off topic, guys. So you guys heard of how tall and long it was.
Yeah.
You want to guess the weight?
1,000 pounds.
No.
40.
Close. An adult aardwolf weighs approximately 7 to 10 kilograms, which is about 15 to 22 pounds. And then sometimes they reach 15 kilograms, which is about 33 pounds.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, just from looking at the picture, it looked about like a medium-sized dog.
Yeah, it looks like a medium-sized dog. I recommend you guys to look at it. There's definitely multiple, animals that a lot of people don't talk about usually that I think are very interesting, and I think people should look out for that because, it's very interesting. It's very interesting to think about, very interesting to look at.
Absolutely, I love it.
The characteristics of a aardwolf is they have dark stripes on a buff yellow or dark brown fur.
Mm-hmm.
So they're they kind of blend in with their surroundings. They live in mostly deserts. Things like that. Obviously, they look more like a hyena, so they have, stripes and spots in certain places. If you guys get the chance ever, I'd recommend searching them up and looking at them a little bit. They're very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The aardwolf diet, obviously talked about it. They are carnivores, but they also eat insects.
Well, I mean, insects are made of meat, even if it is, mostly gooey meat. What?
That sounds nasty, not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, what did Timon and Pumbaa say? Slimy yet satisfying, that's what they said.
Oh, yeah. I love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it.
Alright, nice.
About the aardwolf. Oh my gosh! Wait a second, guys. I found an aardwolf puppy.
Oh!
They're so baby.
Yeah.
How cute!
That is cute. Almost as cute as baby fennec foxes.
Baby fennec foxes are adorable.
There are baby fennec fox pictures. Why don't I have more of those in my life?
The world's smallest fox has the world's cutest babies. I swear, those things are just... You can't help but go, it's so cute! And I'm a full-grown adult.
So much cuteness. All the cuteness.
They look like a little puppy dog.
Yep.
Oh, he's a baby. Oh, so cute. Anyway.
So, is that all for Arthur's Corner this week?
That would be all.
Excellent.
I hope you guys enjoyed learning about Aardwolf with me.
I did. How about you take this next bit about the moon landing?
Sure. The moon landing was led by Neil Armstrong, a former Navy pilot, a test pilot, a professor, an aeronautics engineer, and an astronaut. Born in
Wapakoneta is my best guess.
Wapakoneta, Ohio, he attended Purdue University before going to join the Navy, where he saw action as a fighter pilot during the Korean conflict. He was eventually accepted into the second group of astronauts in NASA and Apollo 11.
Mm-hmm.
would be his second and last flight in space. Neil was listed as the mission commander. However, this was due to the assignment being rotated among flight crews, so it was merely Armstrong's turn. That being said, the man was brave and while not as close with his colleagues as some would like, he never worked on a crew that didn't satisfy their objectives.
So that's our mission commander.
Yeah. So maybe we should take a moment and hear from one of our fellow podcasters.
Yep, we should absolutely do that.
We cordially invite you to escape to a marvelous tropical paradise. The beaches are pristine, and the parties are almost too hot to handle. Welcome to beautiful Blood Rose Island. Come to Blood Rose Island and party the day away. But watch out. If you don't catch the ferry by midnight, you're stuck until morning. And when the party ends, the fight for survival begins. Read Blood Rose Island, a startling novel by Amy Cotto. Fans of A Perfect Getaway and Touristas will enjoy this island thriller that will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very last page. Blood Rose Island by Amy Cotto, that's AMYKOTO, is available now on Kindle Unlimited and in paperback. Find this and other thrilling novels by Amy Cotto on Amazon.com or follow her on Twitter at TV Fanatic Girl. That's TV_fanatic_girl. Blood Rose Island by Amy Cotto. It's a vacation to die for.
Well, that is one interesting podcast.
Very much so. Very much so.
Lots to think about. You want to take us back and tell us a little more about Mr. Aldrin?
Yeah, Eugene Edwin Aldrin, also known as Buzz, and that's how I have referred to him mostly in the notes.
Buzz Lightyear!
Where the name came from, yes.
Yeah. Eugene Edwin Buzz Aldrin was the lunar module pilot for Apollo 11, and as such was the second man on the moon. Buzz Aldrin was born in Glen Ridge, New Jersey, and graduated from the West Point Military Academy with a degree in mechanical engineering. He was a fighter pilot during the Korean War who downed at least 2 MiGs and flew 66 combat missions. He eventually earned a Doctor of Science degree in aeronautics from MIT before eventually being selected as an astronaut. This was Buzz's second and final spaceflight, and he was a bit less composed than Neil Armstrong. He once, mind you, this happens years later, but he once famously punched moon hoax proponent Bart Sibrel in 2002 when the former accused him as being part of the moon hoax conspiracy. And he was 72 at the time. So,
The
hard punch or
yes.
did it feel like dust?
No, he knocked him on his butt.
he yeeted him pretty effectively.
Yeah, he
Yeeted. That's like me. Don't mess with someone.
don't mess with Buzz Aldrin, man. You don't want to.
Don't mess with Buzz. Don't mess with me.
Yeah.
Now, Buzz is well remembered for both his friendliness, his can-do spirit, and his ability to get the job done. At the time of this writing, Buzz is still alive, and at the glorious age of 94, probably waiting to punch some other moon hoax idiots square in the mouth.
Nice. Good. We probably ought to take some time for a couple extra sponsors because this is really a big show.
Yeah. For us, anyway. Yes, it's going to be a very big shoot. Oh, sorry, show. I'm not, what's his name? That nobody would know because 1950s. Yeah. He was big at the time, though.
Yeah, I can't.
Ed something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Yep. I feel sponsored, by the way.
Awesome.
I don't know that you ever stopped talking, but we'll make you figure that out since you do the editing. So, Michael Collins piloted the command module, a vehicle designed to orbit the moon and return the astronauts home. He was the son of a U.S. military attaché who had been born in Rome and educated at West Point before joining the Air Force, where he flew experimental vehicles. He eventually became an astronaut, and this was his second and last space flight. He tended to be a bit of a loner, or at least initially presented himself as one, and tended to initially reject colleagues' attempts to get to know him. Still, he was a qualified pilot, and while Buzz and Neil were on the moon's surface, Collins was becoming only the second person to orbit the moon by themselves. That's not my fault.
No, I know it's not your fault. But I will say it's probably harder for him to do that than it was for you to read about it.
I'm not sure about that. I had some trouble there, but okay.
Well, I guess I'm next.
I guess you are.
In addition to the astronauts, there was the support staff, like a backup crew, consisting of James Lovell Jr., Fred Hayes Jr., and William Anders, and a support crew consisting of Ken Mattingly, Ronald Evans, and Bill Pogue, who tested protocols and equipment and did what they could to keep the crew informed and prepared. Sorry, I just got spit in my throat. The support crew were all trained astronauts and so were uniquely qualified to help in this regard. The capsule communicators, or Capcoms, who were the ones who directly communicated with the flight crew, were on this mission. James Duke, Bruce McCandless?
McCandless II,
Bruce McCandless II, Don L. Lind, Owen K. Darriott and Harrison Smith, as well as the backup crew and support crew. Now, he did not look up the histories of any of these men, as there are entire podcasts devoted to Apollo 11 moon landing, whereas this episode is more about an overview of the entire event. But they were all well trained at a time when the space flight was the cutting edge of technology. They were space cowboys flying through a wild west prairie filled with moon dust and moon rocks.
Nice. Very, very
Heck yeah.
nice writing here.
The astronauts were even provided knives in their kits just in case. Like an alien's gonna come up to you, hello, humans.
Or, if they lost their minds and started trying to eat each other.
No, I looked into this specifically for that. Because the Russian cosmonauts were provided shotguns and pistols.
Wow, what? They really thought that they might
But it's not what you think.
Oh, okay.
When the capsules come down,
Yeah.
if there's a hungry shark coming at you, you're going to
Sense.
want to make something.
Right, because they don't have as much of control over where they end up, right?
Right.
Okay,
And
that
then
makes sense.
for the cosmonauts, it wasn't even about that. It was they were landing in the Taiga, which is where we talked about where the lion ate the dude that stole his lunch. Well, and if they land in there, there's bears that'll eat you never seen a human, aren't scared of you at all.
Right.
That's what the shotgun and the pistol were for. Not for aliens, but there are some conspiracy theorists out there
I got you.
that love knowing that. Because
Absolutely.
that's their first thought.
And he already said this, but now, even after the moon was confirmed to be uninhabited, the astronauts and cosmonauts still had weapons, including in their kits, just in case the capsule landed someplace with hostile animals or people. So, yeah, we already explained this, but, you know.
Okay. Great job, Arthur.
Thank you.
The morning of July 16th, 1969. Almost a full year after an important person had been born.
Yes, almost.
It dawned bright and clear over Cape Canaveral, Florida. Current estimates place the number of people watching the launch that morning from nearby roadsides, highways, and beaches at around 1 million people.
Wow.
Among those on the ground that day was General William Westmoreland, the Chief of Staff of the United States Army, cabinet members, governors, mayors, foreign dignitaries, ambassadors, and congressmen. Over 3,000 media representatives from 56 countries were on hand covering the event, which was televised in 35 countries, covered via radio to millions who were unable to watch on TV from around the world. This was a big event. Interestingly, a few years later, science fiction writer and essayist Harlan Ellison, I'm going to need the rest of this because I can't remember it,
No, you're fine.
would discuss how one South American country, in order to not educate their populace, had, instead of running footage or anything else from the Apollo 11 moon landing, put on a popular local TV personality and the country's most popular kids show host who sat in 2 chairs in a studio and basically discussed their thoughts about the moon landing.
Interesting.
The most ridiculous thing I ever heard of. Anyway, it was an event so big, it kind of changed the world.
As it probably should have.
Well, I mean, even Susie Izzard, he used to be Eddie, but they are she now. So Susie Izzard once said, when you put a species on the blue one and they somehow turn up on the gray one, that's when God should show up and say, "Well done." And that's not meant as a dig at religion, but it does speak to the monumentalism of the event. Or momentousness, not monumentalism. Momentousness of the event, which is what I was just trying to get across.
Gotcha.
So, at 9:32 a.m., the Saturn rocket containing the landing and control module made liftoff from the Kennedy Space Center.
3, 2, 1.
It shortly thereafter entered, circling the Earth, and the initial thruster breaking away. And once the rocket was in position, they made their way from the Earth to the Moon. So, and since we're on video, I can kind of, this is the Earth, say the Moon is here. So what they're doing is they're into space, around the Earth, until they get the shot they want, and then pow, to the Moon.
Yep.
Or around the Moon.
Right, because it's hard to break away from the Earth's gravitational pull.
Right.
Right.
That is why they do it that way.
Right. So So once the rocket was in position, they made their way from the Earth, the Moon. The command module settled into orbit around the Moon, piloted by Michael Collins. The command module. It should be mentioned that this all is a very technical and involved process that has been very simplified for our retelling. It also took much longer to accomplish than our retelling.
Yeah.
Buzz Aldrin then piloted the landing module to the Moon's surface. Once the module had landed, Buzz and Neil performed multiple checks and safety measures before Neil Armstrong exited the landing module like 6 hours later. to become the first person to walk on the moon.
Wow.
Upon stepping to the surface of the moon, Armstrong is supposed to have said, "One small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." However, in most recordings, that "a" in front of man is almost unhearable. Some have suggested that it was buried under the static. Others have suggestions like Armstrong slurring the words "for" and "a" together, so the "a" became unhearable. And years later in an interview, Armstrong claimed to have been so nervous at the time, he might have forgotten the "a" altogether. Whatever the case, what the world actually heard was "one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Immediately afterwards, he took a sample of the moon dust and put it in the pocket. If anything happened where they had to take off sooner than expected, they would absolutely have a soil sample from the moon. Afterwards, Neil was joined on the surface by Buzz Aldrin, and the two set about collecting samples and completing other tasks. In orbit around the moon, Michael Collins followed his own maintenance tasks until Buzz and Neil completed the tasks that they'd been assigned. The landing module then took off, reuniting with the command module in orbit and returning towards Earth. It splashed down in the Pacific Ocean around 900 miles from Honolulu and 13 miles from the USS Hornet, the ship that recovered them and where they spent quarantine. They were called by Nixon in what was described as the most expensive phone call ever to congratulate them on their accomplishments while they were in space. He even had a speech written for him in case something went wrong and the astronauts were lost. The module even left a memento on the moon for any other intelligent life to find.
So, to tell this story, of course, you guys, we do have to talk about the doubters. Because there have been plenty. Many have come to doubt the moon landing. Some point to the fact that NASA destroyed the tapes from the mission. A move that was made because the information was duplicated digitally and they felt it was unnecessary to continue to hold on to the tapes. Others point to the shadows not being parallel, which, according to some, they should be if the only light source was the sun. However, anyone who has been out on a bright sunny day can see non-parallel shadows all over the place. Some claim that humans could not have survived the radiation in the Van Allen belt around the Earth. However, much like fire walking, as long as you move and don't stop, you won't get burned. Some claim the lack of stars in lunar photographs from Apollo 11 don't show stars, thus proving the landing was staged. However, it was daytime on the moon, and even though the camera was cutting edge for its time, if a camera's aperture is too small and the shutter speed not fast enough, stars simply will not appear. Finally, many claim that the flag was waving on the moon, something it surely should not have done since the moon lacks atmosphere. However, the flag was a telescoping pole with a guideline for the top of the flag to keep it straight and out. It had been folded into a small space for days before it was deployed, thus wrinkling the flag and making it appear to move. All of these and other theories were debunked by Mythbusters. And let's not forget that 2001 A Space Odyssey was made in '69. And clearly it did not recreate space realistically at all. It just wasn't possible with the technology of the time.
You may not want to read that last line. I wrote it for me.
And Dean had a little personal
because
comment he wanted to put in there, so I'm going to let him have a moment to say his piece.
Because personally, I believe that people who believe the moon landing was faked are just as crazy as the ones who believe the Earth is flat. It's a conspiracy, much like the thought that the 2020 election was stolen. That is impossible to believe if you have had to look at A, the facts, and B, have more than 3 brain cells to rub together. Just my thoughts.
That's his personal opinion. Outside of that, we're trying to remain non-political as always.
The moon landing was a major cultural event that saw the Apollo 11 astronauts get a ticker-tape parade in New York City and become lionized as heroes. It also birthed the phrase, if they can put a man on the moon, why can't they, whatever it is you want the government or whatever.
Absolutely.
Why can't they make cheese out of soda pop? I don't know, whatever.
Sure.
If they can put a man on the
We've done
moon.
that, right? Made cheese out of soda pop. I am absolutely sure that's something that somebody has done. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so, and that line is still used today, not quite as much, but, and other things have taken place. If they can build the entire internet, why can't they?
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Mostly, I'll keep that thought to myself. And just move on with,
If we can put a man on the moon, then why can't people mind their own business?
There you go. I like it.
I like it. Much love to Buzz Aldrin, who, like I said at the time I was doing the research, is still alive.
Yay, Buzz! You're a rock star.
And please, I encourage all the moon landing wasn't real critics to go and say hi to Buzz Aldrin. At 94, I bet you he still throws a hell of a left hook. Talk to Bart Sibrel about that.
I think that's pretty cool.
So yeah. Summary or your final thoughts? I mean, I know I am kind of the anti-religion guy here,
yeah.
But you gotta wonder, it was there, we got there. Isn't that kind of like looking on the face of God? And if you can look on the face of God even a little, doesn't that mean he's there?
I mean, to me, talking of bringing religion into the space discussion, God made that in my understanding of religion, the Bible even says God made the heavens and the earth on the first day. Well, we live in independence. There's a whole wide world that we don't live in. There is humongous areas of space and galaxies, and so it's like maybe looking at a toe hair of God.
I was thinking of it, maybe not the face, but at least it's kind of seeing his signature on the artwork.
Absolutely, getting a whole new view of the portion of your world that you have seen up to this point. I think it's very similar to getting that first chance to travel abroad, getting that first chance to, very appropriate to where we find ourselves in the year right now, right? Where children are going off to college. Children are getting ready to go back to schools. People grow and change. They change their careers. They change their interests. They change their life goals. And I think that the Apollo 11 was a change in human history. It wasn't necessarily good or bad, whether you believe it was true, which you should because it was true, or whether you think that somehow it was faked. It was a change. It was a positive change. It was a change that people were impressed by and proud of, and it brought forth a national and worldwide pride in something that we did as a country, and that was a good thing.
And we could definitely use something like that now.
Yep, absolutely.
But here's the reason I brought up God, though, and the astronauts who went into space, and in the early going, it was most of them.
Yeah.
They all said the same thing, that being out in space made them feel a closer, deeper connection with God.
And that makes total sense to me.
So, I guess that's why I'm saying it's kind of like you see a signature on the artwork. And I don't know, maybe it's just because you're in a place where there's nothing but you and your thoughts, and so maybe it's a little easier to hear him then. I don't know. I am not.
I would imagine that in that kind of very deep, I would imagine that would definitely be something of a spiritual experience, to be someplace that void of anything that you are used to. What do you think, Arthur?
Here's my thing. I think it's real. That's all I have to say. Why would people fake fainting, fake all the things that fake everything that they go through after?
And not one person has come out and said it's fake.
Yeah, this is just people who try to stir things.
Exactly. And it's like, not a singular person has just been like, oh yeah, we used a green screen. We did nothing.
Right? No,
it's like,
it doesn't work that way.
No. No. You've even seen, like, VHS tapes of people coming back to Earth and talking about what their experience was on the moon or wherever they went in space, and they are, like, literally almost fainting. How do you explain that? Why would they try fainting on purpose? Why would they do that?
And this episode had so many people I would like to do episodes on. John F. Kennedy, obviously.
Right.
Katherine Johnson. It definitely.
Amazing lady, yeah. Absolutely.
Because, oh my God, to be a brain so big that you silence not only the racists, but the chauvinists. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, she was the first woman to ever get her name put on a paper because, like, they went to a scientist, had him do it. He went to her for her help. And then when they came to him, he's like, hey, you didn't sign this. We got to say it's by someone. He's like, put her name on because she did 90% of the work. And they said, well, we don't do that. He's like, well, you do now.
Good.
So, I mean,
I really have got to see that movie at some point in time, too, because I've never had a chance to sit down and watch it.
Wait, what movie are we talking about again?
Hidden Figures?
I'm pretty sure I've watched that.
Probably.
I
just haven't.
I believe I watched it in 6th grade with my teacher. I can't remember her name, but we were doing a Zoom call and we watched that movie. It was very interesting.
Very nice.
Hey, hon.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I love you.
I love you, too. But other than that, I mean, I've made my thoughts perfectly clear. We absolutely went to the moon. I mean, otherwise, I don't know, where do all the moon rocks come from? I mean, some guy stole, 20 pounds of them and were selling them for exorbitant prices on the internet? Why were people so willing to buy them if they're just from Earth?
Okay.
So,
it's one of those things. If people are convinced and they want to believe it, doesn't matter what we're going to say. So, that is our show. I think everyone threw their final thoughts out there. Thank you for listening. I'm jumping into your extra. Do you want to take it over, honey?
No, you're doing fine.
All right. I guess I get to do the hard work. Okay, thank you for keeping us in the Good Pods Top 100. We love to see it, love to get those emails. We tell everybody, hey, we are on the Good Pods Top 100 again. You see those retweets on X. We also are having a lot of fun in the Facebook group. That is newly my job. I moderate our Facebook group, so come and join us. If you haven't already, look for Family Plot on Facebook. We have a lot of fun. I try to throw new topics into our live chat a couple of times a week, but I watch it all the time, so please let me know if there any topics that we're missing out on and you want to give our shout-outs, Vic?
Sure, I'll give her shout-outs real quick. Thanks to Bill Barrett. That last name is spelled B-E-H-R-E-N-D-T. Why do you care? Well, I'll tell you why you care. One, we thank him because he does our theme music. He's a heck of a musician, so if you need music for a project or someone to play at a live event, like a wedding, Bill's your guy. You can reach him at Bill Barrett, C-Y, it's important you know how to spell his last name, at sbcglobal.net.
Good one.
Also want to say thanks to Paige Elmore, formerly of the Reverie Crime Podcast. Now, she leaves 100 or so episodes of one of the best true crime podcasts you'll ever listen to, so please. But since she is out of the podcast game, we still thank her because she has a Canva addiction, which she has combined with some artwork from our very own Arthur to create logo art for us. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Paige.
And thanks go out to Aaron Gnurk of the Big Dumb Fun Show, who continues to promote us locally, as well as Blue Bows, our sound engineer, and the one who did the rocket sound that you have been hearing all episode long. Because, and
join us next week. Next week, we've got another exciting episode. You want to tell us what we're talking about next week, Arthur?
We are talking about gun shooting true crime with Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh my gosh, Bonnie and Clyde.
Woo!
Bye. Bye.